Charlie Sheen has always been Hollywood's wild card, the man behind Winning, Tiger Blood, and one of the most infamous public meltdowns of the last 20 years. For decades, his name has been synonymous with chaos, excess, and controversy. But just when we thought the storm had quieted, Sheen's new documentary and recent podcast appearances have revealed stories even more jaw-dropping than the tabloids ever dared to print. These aren't just rumors whispered by insiders. They're first-hand confessions from Sheen himself, and they are as outrageous, disturbing, and bizarre as you'd expect. It begins with the claim that set the internet on fire, that Charlie Sheen has slept with 47,000 women.
You know what? I'm going to have sex with 47,000 women.
When you put it like that.
He dropped the number casually during a podcast appearance, as if it were no more surprising than announcing what he had for breakfast. The hosts were stunned, the audience laughed, and the world debated whether it was mathematically possible. To put it in perspective, that's more people than the population of entire towns. If you broke it down, it would mean multiple women every single day for decades. Whether the number is exaggerated or not, the sheer audacity of saying it out loud shows exactly who Sheen is. For him, outrageous claims aren't embarrassing. They're part of his brand. And yet, the fact he'd boast so openly about something so absurd also reveals the compulsive nature of his past life. It wasn't just sex, it was excess in its purest form. But behind the swagger is a darker story. In the documentary, Sheen revealed that after he was diagnosed with HIV, people came out of the shadows to exploit him. According to Sheen, multiple individuals tried to blackmail him, demanding large sums of money to keep his diagnosis secret. Imagine being at the lowest point in your life, struggling with a terrifying health condition, only to be cornered by people who want to turn it into a weapon. He described the terror of knowing his most personal truth could be sold to tabloids or blasted online at any moment. But he's firm about one thing. He insists that no one ever contracted the virus from him. His words are sharp and unflinching. Nobody got this from me. Period. That revelation lands with a mixture of shock and sympathy, painting a picture of a man both reckless and victimized by the vultures that circle Hollywood celebrities. The confessions didn't stop there. For the first time publicly, Sheen admitted to having sex with men during what he called his hypersexual years, a period when addiction drove him to experiment with anything and everything. His quote was unforgettable. "If you're looking at a menu, at some point you're going to turn that fucker over." It was a rare moment of brutal honesty, and for Sheen, an act of liberation. He explained that it wasn't about identity, but about compulsion and a bottomless appetite for experience. He framed it as a product of his addictions, that when you're constantly chasing a new high, you'll go anywhere the impulse leads. In an industry where secrets are currency, this revelation hit hard. For decades, rumors swirled about Sheen's private life, but hearing him acknowledge it himself stripped away the mystique and replaced it with raw, uncomfortable reality. Then there are the drug stories, the kind that sound like urban legends but come straight from Sheen's mouth. While filming Money Talks, he says he suffered an 18-hour nosebleed from relentless cocaine use. 18 hours and nearly a full day of bleeding, and yet he stayed on set, pushing through while begging the director to erase the footage of his ruined face. The image of an actor, nose caked in blood, still trying to perform lines while his body is breaking down, is as grotesque as it is tragic. On another film, exhausted and strung out, he shoved an ice cube inside his body, just to stay awake long enough to finish the scene. The image is shocking, disgusting, and unforgettable, and also perfectly illustrates just how far he was willing to go to maintain the facade of being professional, even when his body and mind were collapsing. These aren't party anecdotes. They're cautionary tales of a man burning himself alive while the cameras kept rolling. And then there's the plain story, a confession so reckless it borders on unbelievable. On his honeymoon in 1995, Sheen says he entered the cockpit of a commercial airliner while pirate drunk. To his astonishment, the co-pilot supposedly turned off autopilot for a moment and let him touch the controls. Even if only partly true, the fact that Sheen boasts about it reveals his hunger for chaos, his thrill at turning every environment into a playground for danger. The idea of a coked-up Hollywood star flying a plane full of passengers feels like a metaphor for his entire life, total recklessness with the world watching in horror. It also raises a terrifying question. How many times did Sheen's impulses endanger not only himself, but everyone around him? Not every revelation was about destruction. Some were about missed opportunities. Sheen claimed he was offered the role of Daniel LaRusso in The Karate Kid, but his father, Martin Sheen, urged him to honor another project instead. Imagine if Ralph Macchio had never crane-kicked Johnny Lawrence. Imagine the iconic wax-on, wax-off line being delivered by Charlie Sheen. Hollywood history would have been rewritten, but instead, Sheen's path led him elsewhere, into darker, stranger territory. He admitted he sometimes looks back and wonders what might have happened had he taken the part, but quickly added that regrets don't interest him anymore. He frames his life as one long, chaotic ride, one that doesn't leave much room for what-ifs. He even reflected on his childhood, revealing that for a time, his parents went through what he called a nudist phase. He remembers walking into the kitchen as a kid and seeing them naked. He laughs about it now, but the story underscores just how unconventional his early life was. For Sheen, there was never a clear line between normal and bizarre. It all blended into one. Growing up in a family of actors, constantly surrounded by eccentricity, Hollywood excess didn't shock him. In many ways, it felt like a continuation of the strange household he came from. And in perhaps the strangest twist of all, Sheen revealed that one of his longtime drug dealers was secretly helping him quit. Under the guidance of Sheen's counselor, the dealer allegedly began diluting his cocaine supply. Over the course of a year and a half, he reduced the potency without Sheen realizing it, effectively weaning him off. It's the ultimate reversal, the person you expect to destroy him actually saving his life. For Sheen, this was less a moment of gratitude than a kind of cosmic irony. The man he thought was fueling his downfall was quietly trying to pull him out of it. But Sheen also admitted that his career choices became less about art and more about survival. He confessed to taking roles purely to bankroll his drug habit. Entire films and shows were greenlit with Sheen in the cast, not because he loved the scripts, but because he needed the money for his next fix. It raises uncomfortable questions about how many beloved projects were fueled not by passion, but by addiction. Did audiences cheer performances that were really just byproducts of self-destruction? Sheen's honesty about this adds a chilling layer to his legacy. The line between entertainer and addict was never clear, and sometimes the two were the same. And then the documentary turned to the darkest allegations. Accusations of sexual misconduct. Corey Feldman claims Sheen raped Corey Haim on the set of Lucas, a story Sheen angrily denies, calling it a piece of vile fiction. He pointed out that Haim's own mother denied the story as well. His ex-fiancé, Brett Rossi, accused him of abuse, which he also denied while acknowledging that his drug-fueled relationships were often toxic. Watching him confront these allegations was unsettling. He was defensive, but it was also clear he knew his legacy had been scarred forever. Unlike his confessions about sex and drugs, which he seemed almost proud to share, these were moments where the bravado cracked. For once, he wasn't the loudest man in the room. He was cornered and visibly haunted. The shockers spilled into his podcast appearances, too. On Joe Rogan's show, Sheen revealed he once had a panic attack live on air, calling it one of the most humiliating experiences of his career. For a man who built his persona on being untouchable, admitting such vulnerability was jarring. And in another interview, He claimed he sensed Matthew Perry's relapse before his tragic death. Whether that's empathy or just another bizarre Sheenism is up for debate, but the comment sparked headlines all the same. When you put all of this together, the picture is staggering. 47,000 lovers, HIV blackmail, sexual encounters with men, flying a plane drunk, 18-hour nosebleeds, ice cubes as stimulants, a nudist childhood, a drug dealer turned unlikely savior, roles chosen only to fund chaos, and allegations that haunt him to this day. It's a roller coaster of confessions that feel too wild to be true, yet too specific to dismiss. Charlie Sheen isn't protecting his reputation anymore. He isn't sugarcoating, and he isn't hiding. He's putting everything on the table, daring the world to judge him. And maybe that's the most shocking confession of all. That after decades of denial, Charlie Sheen is finally telling the truth. Or at least his version of it. So now it's up to you. Do you believe Sheen's outrageous stories, or do you think he's exaggerating for attention? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's wildest scandals.